The Cattle Feeders Hall of Fame was first established to honor the exceptional and visionary men and women who have made a lasting and meaningful contribution to the cattle feeding industry. And this year, one of the inductees is Joe Morgan, a first-generation cattle feeder whose success is built on a remarkable story of growth and strong relationships. Growing up in western Iowa, Joe Morgan was a farm kid with a dream to farm.
I started out farming, and then if you guys remember in the 80s how tough the farming was and high interest rates, and so I had to go find something else to do. I was able to save the farm, but that was about it.
An animal science major from Iowa State, his uncle ran a feed yard for years in Texas, and he and his dad had fed there as well.
So I was always infatuated with the feed yard environment and all the activity. So when the opportunity came up to manage that yard outside of Omaha, I took that job.
Within just a couple of years, Morgan had an opportunity to run a feed yard in Kansas, and that's exactly what he did.
We started out, it was a 17,000 head yard and struggled like everybody did in the 80s. It was tough going, and Wayne and I stayed together. We've been partners ever since, and continually, had some really good support from some people that mentored me and our banker.
In 1985, this feed yard featured 17,000 head, and in 40 years, Pokey Feeders has grown 505%. And of the 103,000 head of cattle that go through this feed yard today, 95% are customer cattle.
We focused on customers from the very beginning, and we concentrated on keeping the customer base, and we never were interested in feeding all the cattle ourselves. We just financially didn't have the capability in the early years, and then once we got the customer base built, I just stayed with that program.
A focus on customers and a competitive drive to grow, Pokey Feeders has customers across 14 states.
And that's what's really, I think, helped us is because we have a wide customer base. When cattle are moving in the south, we have customers there. When the cattle are moving in the north, we have customers coming out of that area.
The culture here at Pokey is one that started 40 years ago, and here in western Kansas, Morgan will be the first to tell you it takes grit and guts to run a business here.
Well, it's been tough in the droughts the last several years, and there's not much you can overdo with that but just resiliency. But on the water issues, of course, we've just continued to, purchase land when it came available with more wells to be able to convert to the livestock.
Morgan says when his son came home to help with the business, he brought fresh ideas.
And when Grant came home, he talked me into going into a water recycling project. So we're recycling approximately 80% of our yard now.
Water that is cleansed and then recycled.
A year ago, we recycled and used about 30 million gallons. So it's a huge project that we do.
Morgan also credits his son Grant with growing new relationships.
I was really concerned until the last several years is that our customer base was getting older and older, and they didn't seem to have any children interested in coming back. But in the last several years, I think part of it honestly is because of Grant's age. He's been able to communicate and build a relationship with some of our customers' children. And so we have been able to grow that, and he's actually got some younger customers than I had. And I think that's helped us as far as Pokey.
Today, Pokey's story is one of growth and success through a strong team. And Morgan's induction into the Cattle Feeder Hall of Fame honored that story this week.
Well, I was nominated last year at the convention, and then I think they notified me around the 1st of September this year.
So when they called you, what did you say?
Well, I was shocked, honestly, because I've attended these events ever since they started in Denver years ago. And never in my wildest dream, I watched all the people that walked up there and received it. I never dreamed that, I'd be receiving it.
A humbling moment, but one that honors a remarkable career, as Joe Morgan is truly a visionary in his field. Congratulations to Joe as well as Dan May of Stratton, Colorado, for being inducted into this year's Hall of Fame. When we come back, what would a world be like without cows? It's a compelling documentary and one that we are giving you a preview of next.